Hello, I'm the Deer Runner, and in this analysis video, I'll be analyzing the training event by Gran Torino from the My Hero Academia series for anything relevant to Deku's original scanning Quirk, which superpowers in the world are called Quirks. This will contain spoilers for the My Hero Academia series. This is your final spoiler warning. As stated in the last episode end, the hero side now knows of Deku's original Quirk due to how obvious its behavior in the UA Sports Festival, trying to help Deku compete, making Deku do extremely impossible things, which after it forced Deku to carry a massive heavy metal slab across a mile of rope dangling over a cliff from it to a minefield so it can make Deku dig up a pile of mines with it while somehow not exploding, and somehow had Deku jump onto the metal slab onto the pile of mines to somehow have him launch a large distance forward, land safely on another section of the same minefield to get ahead of the competitors to win. They could tell that a scanning Quirk had to be responsible, which they would then easily look back and notice less blatantly obvious but very distinct and numerous times an information gathering Quirk had to have affected Deku. Which, since they gave One for All to Deku, which is the transferable godlike power society relies on, which combines with each person who gets its power permanently to stockpile these superpowers to make a god-level superhero society can rely on to survive, they knew if they allowed a wrong superpower into the power, then it could ruin it. So when they saw they accidentally missed Deku's original Quirk when giving him One for All, they would be desperate to know the implications of having that unknown power be permanently attached to One for All. So in this event, they take advantage of the UA work study program, which sends UA students to heroes to learn under them, to instead have Deku go to Gran Torino, who is tasked solely to test Deku's original Quirk soon after this Quirk was discovered. Which we do see many bizarre things Gran Torino decides to do, which if we take into account they want to test Deku's original Quirk, then it all makes sense. First, they tested one of the most important things. How can they avoid it malfunctioning dangerously? This Quirk activates to fulfill Deku's desires, but is very stubborn, showing clearly it can go off and not abandon a misguided objective. So they chose to first establish a very easy to make the right choice scenario, to abandon a misguided plan to identify a safe way they can use it that in later tests will be pushed safety limits to see how far they can go without malfunctions. They did this by activating Deku's original Quirk, by having Deku decide to want to be trained by Gran Torino and took advantage of All Might's fear of Gran Torino training methods made Deku's original Quirk assume Gran Torino is one of the most impressive and toughest trainers, so would plan accordingly. Then they made it clear to Deku and his original Quirk that this was misguided. By having Gran Torino remain in a senile state the entire time Deku could scan him as he walked to Gran Torino's location, which Deku found, then interacted with Gran Torino as he was in a senile state.
Now, who did you say you were?
I'm Izuku Midoriya from UA High School.
You're who now?
I'm Izuku Midoriya.
So what's your name, boy?
Oh, great. He was All Might's teacher, so I knew he had to be pretty old, but I didn't expect him to be bonkers.
I could really use some food.
Some food?
Toshinori?
Midoriya! I should probably let All Might know the state this guy's in. He's not fit to mentor.
Which you can easily observe people able to deceive Deku and his original Quirk through acting, so they knew it can't scan minds. So unable to see Gran Torino was acting senile, which they saw when Gran Torino told Deku to try to hit him with a deadly one-for-all attack to test Deku's abilities.
Why don't you fire off a one-for-all smash at me? I want to know how far you've come in terms of handling its power.
Is this even the same guy as before?
Now, where's that attack?
But, sir...
Hey, what are you doing here?
What the heck is with this guy?
Instead of the original plan, having Deku say yes immediately to train hard, Deku made the moral decision to say no and try to leave, showing his Quirk work properly.
I'm sorry, but I can't waste my whole week messing around like this, sir. I hope you'll excuse me.
After this, Gran Torino said,
As I thought.
Now, I cannot think of any other reason besides he expected Deku's original Quirk to not make the wrong choice, as this Quirk had to have been saying no to Deku throughout his whole life. In reasonable ways, as young people, desires like Deku's are often extremely unreasonable, so for Deku's record being clean enough to be chosen to receive the god-level power society relies on, it had to have reasonable limits like this. Why else would he say it? As I thought, did he expect Deku to not beat up a senile old person? Why would he even address that? When Deku was fully aware Gran Torino was not senile, Gran Torino after a while allowed Deku to actually do the test that will be the start of the investigation into ways Deku can utilize One-For-All power better, which Gran Torino first gave Deku the test to try to hit him with a deadly One-For-All attack, which is something Deku wouldn't be able to do, so he can strive for the hidden One-For-All power that could make it reasonable. But when Gran Torino could see Deku questioning if he should, Gran Torino beat him around a few times to clear up the confusion that was potentially from Deku's original Quirk, residual effects being messed with, or Deku's obvious observations, his property damage Gran Torino's old to really be hitting him.
Show me your smash.
You're sure this is a good idea? I'm kind of worried. Plus, this place is small, and if I accidentally fired a smash at 100%, then your body wouldn't be able to handle it.
Good grief, kid. A chatterbox, aren't you? I'm losing patience!
Which the extremely fast Gran Torino did not play around and didn't care about property damage to limit the chances he'd get cornered by this Quirk that excels at taking advantage of any opening. Which once Deku's original Quirk did its normal strategy of taking advantage of an opening instantly, as an attack by Gran Torino took too long.
He's passed behind me twice. That means...
Clever analysis, newbie.
So Gran Torino, as precaution, quickly beat Deku. Gran Torino then attempted to see how Deku's original Quirk attempted to utilize and optimize a One-For-All Quirk by telling Deku One-For-All does contain the power to catch Gran Torino, which would have Deku desire to find that power so Deku's original Quirk would pursue it. Deku's original Quirk has shown to figure out all types of quirks before and able to intricately manipulate them. But what it does with One-For-All, clearly though, it can figure out incredible stuff very quickly for some reason is completely limited to extremely self-destructive and inefficient moves, while learning more efficient ways of utilizing One-For-All at an extremely slow pace. Gran Torino didn't expect Deku's original Quirk can do it because of that, which there had to be scanning limits, which the most powerful Quirk out there is probably something that can't be scanned, and the slowness to find effectiveness is probably Deku figuring it out without utilizing his original Quirk that can't handle it. Which you can hear throughout this, Gran Torino just thinks Deku is figuring it out while omitting talking about Deku's original Quirk, as Gran Torino expected Deku had to figure it out without his Quirk.
Well, at least he's mentally adept and forward-thinking for a kid. But I already knew that from the festival. You found a good one, huh, Toshinori? Or should I say, All Might?
But he still wanted Deku to use it. So Gran Torino gave many cryptic hints that basically say Deku is using One-For-All like it is a special attack, while he instead should be utilizing a far less amount that can be sustained without Deku harming himself.
Nice try, but you're a little stiff. And there's discord within your mind. That's why I bested you. You understand its fundamentals, but your admiration for All Might and sense of loyalty to him are shackles on you. And you think One-For-All is more special than it really is. Think about that on your own time.
Then after 24 hours, Gran Torino showed no surprise Deku couldn't do it.
The first day of training down, all he did was test me once. No actual hero work or field training. I need to change the way that I think about One-For-All.
Good morning. What's wrong? You look beat.
Well, I was training on my own yesterday and went too far. I tried to take everything you said to me and put it into practice, but it was just no good.
Gran Torino then gave a few more hints, this time indicating You had to put the power evenly throughout your body through a microwave cooking example.
Just focus on these piping hot pastries for now. Still frozen. What are you, an idiot? You stuck a huge plate in there, didn't you? If you do that, there's no room for it to turn, so only one part of it gets hot.
Up until now, I've just been summoning One For All, only when I really need it, in the places I need it. I need One For All's power surging through all of me, continuously, the 5% that I can use.
Visualizing a pastry in the microwave is pretty boring, kid. You sure you're okay with that?
Which Deku figured out, and Gran Torino stated Deku, not his Quirk, did it with the wording used.
Didn't take him long to figure that out. Good.
Once Deku was using full cowling, the ability Gran Torino wanted Deku to figure out, Gran Torino did another test for Deku to attempt to hit Gran Torino to evaluate how Deku's original Quirk does with using a power of One For All it didn't use before. He gave Deku 3 minutes, which is much longer than last time, as full cowling is a far less dangerous move, so it was much more safe, therefore can keep the test going longer.
So tell me, can you move in this state?
I don't know for sure.
Wanna give it a try? We'll begin with 3 minutes. That's the amount of time you have to try to hit me with a smash.
But ended the test after only 1:38 seconds, instead of 3 minutes, which Deku did not notice due to the intensity. This was done due to Gran Torino saw Deku's original Quirk altered the previous good strategy he had, which before Deku's original Quirk saw an opening by Gran Torino taking too long to do an attack from behind Deku, but instead of attacking immediately,
From behind!
You already tried to counter like this once before, remember, kid?
instead of a maneuver to get a better angle of an attack, which Gran Torino quickly dodged, which he said he had to dodge extremely seriously,
It's been a long time since I've had to seriously dodge an attack.
and did get scratched on the face, so inches away from getting hit directly, which right after smashed Deku against the wall to restrain him, then ended the test as a precaution. We can hear Gran Torino then think Deku may turn into a real monster,
This kid might turn out to be a real monster.
which was secretly a reference to even so he saw how overpowered All Might with One For All is. Deku's original Quirk ability could make it truly a force that far surpasses what is seen before with its shield controller One For All. It brings like a monster compared to anything else that came before, and with testing the morality of Deku's original Quirk as planned, he may be thinking about how he may find out Deku actually is a monster. Gran Torino then decided to spar with Deku for training for 2 days, but it is clear after the first couple of sparring matches that we saw that he used caution. He decided to test how far he could push things, and got pretty comfortable, as Gran Torino's ability far surpassed whatever One For All and Deku's original Quirk combined can do. Which these sparring matches allowed Deku to be very familiar with full cowling, so Deku's original Quirk will be able to instantly have Deku do whatever he needs to do without disruption that is caused by this Quirk. Able to have Deku understand it fully, to make proper desires that are realistic and won't need to disrupt Deku's mind to have him do things he doesn't know he can do its normal behavior of hiding itself. After this, Gran Torino stated they are going to a bad part of town for combat training.
We're going out to fight some villains.
What? Just like that?
If you only fight against me, you'll be in trouble when you come across someone who's the complete opposite. The key is to let you get experience with different types of villains and situations. This is an internship, after all. You really shouldn't be that surprised by this. It won't do us any good hanging around here.
So, this train isn't gonna get there until pretty late. Are you sure that's okay?
That's why I picked it. There'll be more skirmishes then, so it'll be much more fun.
Which after the unrelated Hosu incident that will happen soon, forcing Gran Torino and Deku to get involved in a massive battle in which there had to be a large cover-up of what happened to avoid Deku and 2 other in-training heroes who fought against villains to avoid massive legal consequences, as they did not have hero licenses, plus did revoke Gran Torino's teaching license for 6 months.
Stain has some serious injuries, severe burns and several broken bones. Right now, he's in the hospital under strict guard. Here's a lesson you should have already learned. When quirks became the norm, the police force sought to maintain the status quo. They decided we wouldn't use quirks as weapons. That's when heroes came in. They could do what we couldn't, if they were licensed, of course. It would be impossible for the police to condone the use of deadly quirks, whether you were up against a hero killer or not. None of you had the authority to harm the villain. That means the three of you, and your supervisors, Endeavor, Manuel, and Gran Torino, should receive harsh punishments for this gross abuse of your powers. But any punishment would only be necessary if this went public. We could say Endeavor saved the day. Stain's burns would support their story completely, and we could pretend you weren't involved. Thankfully, there were very few witnesses. This could be the last you heard of any punishments.
None of us knew we'd end up fighting in that back alley, and in the end, no one else would find out.
Obviously, such a training event that has Deku attack villains would end in major legal consequences. Gran Torino had pre-planned to deactivate legal consequences, which he's extremely well connected, having clear access to the most classified information shown by him knowing everything about One for All and All for One, and as most closely guarded secret. And in such an environment could bring resources to orchestrate events to evaluate the morality of Deku's original quirk and anything else. But a sudden attack on the city of Hosu they were passing while on a train to that training event ended the entire test, which it also had Deku, unlike before when he didn't know of legal consequences, would obviously refuse such training event for after Hosu forcing Gran Torino to end the test prematurely. I'm not going to cover this battle for this episode as it would add far too much length to this video and focus on not directly related topics, so I'm going to skip ahead to Gran Torino's final evaluation of Deku. We can hear Gran Torino is hopeful of Deku.
So he's the future, huh? He may not look or act like him, but he's still just like Toshinori, the man chosen by my friend, the man who inherited One for All, who became the very best. Let you and me watch over him together, Toshinori, till the day you pass on into history, till the day that the hero Deku is celebrated around the world as the new symbol of peace.
But due to the morality problems weren't evaluated due to the test was stopped early, Gran Torino did fail to understand how dangerous this quirk is, therefore society as well, at this stage, which was shown in a confident hope indicated in Gran Torino's evaluation of Deku's original quirk. We can see they decided to hide Deku's original quirk from Deku, and since the manga is stated to be ending with the still not telling him, something massive must have happened, which we can use my future Deku narration theory to find the answer. This theory states that this is a retelling of events by future Deku, which we get a translated visual form that still contains what he says, but is heavily encrypted, which he often explains the reasons why something happened around the time it is introduced, within at least a few episodes. So looking over this event, we see two parts that clearly show a strong reason why society did this. Society investigation into the League of Villains was shown to strongly indicate the god-level threat, All for One, was still alive, despite they thought they killed him. By first an investigation showing someone with clear signs they were a victim of All for One power, then the other event shows a person likely responsible for that victim from the previous example is extraordinarily smart, predicting all types of major outcomes, which is just like the evil mastermind All for One.
So, how's the investigation?
Well, there were a number of villains who attacked the USJ, but we're puzzled by one, the one you fought who they called Nomu. You went ahead and ran some tests on Nomu's DNA. It could lead us to the one in charge. Our reports show that he's been altered drastically. When we analyzed his genetic makeup, we discovered 4 different people's DNA. To oversimplify a bit, he's been modified so that his body is able to hold multiple quirks at once. He shouldn't have more than one power, even if new DNA is introduced, not unless it's completely integrated into someone's body. But maybe there's someone out there with the power to pass different quirks onto other people.
It can't be.
Given the evidence, I think it's a reasonable conclusion.
Don't tell me he's back again.
To put it simply, you've both got charisma. As the investigation continues, his ideology and opinions will be all over the media. Everyone will want to know his motives. The age we live in, for better or for worse, is one of suppression. There will be people across the globe who are influenced by these new ideas. That's where the League of Villains comes in. The Hosu incident suggests that Stain and the League are connected somehow. That means the League will go from being thought of as a bunch of juvenile delinquents to being recognized as a group with an ideology. In other words, these new converts will seek them out, even if each individual is insignificant. If that evil gathers under one banner, it will swell to unstoppable proportions. If the villain in charge knew this would happen from the beginning, then he is a brilliant strategist. He's steadily getting rid of any obstacles one by one, trying to create conditions that will favor his own purpose.
When I heard from Sugauchi that Nomu had multiple quirks, I had a bad feeling. What if he's back?
You're afraid the villain named All for One is on the rise again.
For him to have survived such injuries, though, I don't want to imagine it's possible.
Therefore, they were convinced All for One is alive, and so they need the power of One for All now, not later, as it's the only thing that can beat him. Which, the more people that know Deku has the scanning quirk, the far less secretive Deku's original quirk may be, cause it be pointless for it to hide it from people that already know it's there, especially Deku, which would lead enemies to figure it out, seeing it being more blatant with its actions, which would lead them to notice critical weaknesses that can get Deku killed easily. Which, with how to approach Deku's original quirk to catch it off guard, focusing on keeping the variables in constant flux, and secretly having variables be something different than what Deku's original quirk thinks, can all overwhelm Deku's original quirk to have to reprocess them and not be able to work in time and malfunction in ways that include just remaining off for extended time and freezing Deku in place in a way it is physically manipulating him. And last but not least, one of the worst, take advantage of the morality issue to make Deku do atrocities drenching the symbol of peace roll in blood. If All for One showed no sign he was around, then they would have quickly moved to fix the issues. But as long as major threats such as All for One is around, they, for self-preservation, hid the weaknesses, allowing all the problems to remain. That seems to be all the information stored here, so I'll end my video here. In the next video, Deku will face one of the toughest battles he will face, as every opponent he faces he can't fight head on, and his quirk has to get extremely creative to win. This event will also show future Deku discontent with society that his future self will have to deal with. This has been a Dio Run of the Run of Dio. Thanks for watching.